I don't mean to be nosy, but your husband doesn't work. He's always at home. That's what my meddling neighbour blurted out. Of course he works. He just left, I replied, feeling a knot of discomfort tighten in my stomach. That's weird. I saw him come back in less than an hour ago, and he wasn't alone. In that moment, I knew I had to see the truth with my own eyes. My name is Renee Thompson. I'm 34 years old, and I've been married for 10 years to Julian, the man I thought I knew better than anyone. I work part-time at the local market, and the rest of the day, I take care of our home. Julian, on the other hand, has always been an office guy, a salesman at a big corporation, or so I thought. Until a few months ago, his routine was predictable. He'd leave early, come back late, tired but smiling. We'd share dinner, watch a series together, or just talk about silly things. But lately, everything had changed. He was coming home earlier, and when I got back from work, the house was immaculate, as if someone else had been there. But I always left alone. That morning, I woke up before my alarm. Julian was already gone. In the kitchen, I found his used mug, freshly brewed coffee, and the newspaper neatly folded. Everything seemed normal, too normal. I started to remember things I'd ignored. Dishes washed when I'd left them in the sink, clothes folded that I didn't remember touching. The scent of a cleaning spray that didn't come from my own hands. Maybe I was overreacting. But then I heard the voice of Mrs. Gable, my neighbour. She's an elderly, sweet woman, always in her flowered apron, with gardening shears in hand. That morning, she approached me casually. "Renee," she said, "your husband isn't working anymore." I looked at her, confused. "Why do you say that?" "Well, I see him around here a lot. Today he came back around noon. I thought maybe he was working from home." My heart stopped for a second. "Oh no, he goes to the office every day," I replied, feigning calm. She watched me with a mix of doubt and pity. "Well, I'm only telling you this because I'm concerned. I'm home almost all day, and I've seen him come back several times." I thanked her, though inside, something was breaking. I went inside, closed the door, and stood still. The coffee cup was still warm. The living room was perfect. The kitchen looked like it was out of a magazine. And my head was a raging storm. He was lying to me. He was coming home without telling me. Why? And with whom? For the first time in years, I felt I needed to find proof. Not answers, not explanations. Proof. The next day I came home from work and the house was spotless again. I knew in that moment that something was being hidden, and I was going to find out what it was. The following day, I opened the front door with a lump in my throat. I already knew what I was going to find, but a part of me still wanted to be wrong. The living room was too perfect. The sofa was arranged as if no one had sat on it, the cushions aligned with surgical precision. In the kitchen, the shine from the sink seemed to mock me. And that faint lavender scent was a clear sign that someone had been cleaning, trying to erase their tracks. But what hurt most wasn't the order, it was the silence. A clean silence. A lying silence. I walked up the stairs slowly, my feet heavy. The morning light filtered through the curtains, illuminating everything with a false sense of calm. I opened the hall closet. The towels were folded in thirds, exactly how Julian liked them. Only he did it that way. And in that instant, I understood everything. He was coming home every day, and he was lying to me. That night, I made dinner as if everything was fine. The steaming plates sat on the table, and the only sound was the clinking of our silverware. Julian seemed calm, too calm. "How was your day?" I asked, in a tone I tried to make sound natural. "Hectic. The new project is driving me crazy, but I think it'll be worth it." Liar. "You left early again," I chewed slowly, calmly. "Yeah, but only because I had to go to the bank first." The lie came out so smoothly, so polished, it made me sick. After dessert, While he was washing the dishes, something he never did without a reason, I stepped out onto the patio. I needed air. What I found was a whirlwind of thoughts. I took out my phone and texted my coworker. "Sarah, can you cover for me tomorrow? I have to take care of something personal." She replied immediately. "Of course, girl. Is everything okay?" I stared at the screen for a few seconds before replying. "I don't know yet." The next morning, I got dressed as if I were going to work. I put on makeup, grabbed my bag, and went downstairs with the same old routine. I kissed Julian at the door. "Good luck with the project, love." "Thanks, see you tonight," he smiled. He got in his car and I watched him drive away. But I didn't go to work. I waited exactly 15 minutes and went back inside. I turned off the lights, closed the curtains, took a deep breath, and went straight upstairs to the bedroom closet. Yes, the closet. I settled myself between blankets and hanging clothes. I left the door slightly ajar, just enough to see into the living room. My hands were trembling. My throat was dry. The sound of my own heart was so loud, I thought someone else would hear it. Memories of when Julian and I were just starting out flooded my mind. I was a student taking night classes, and after a full day of work, he would come by the university just to see me for a few minutes. That was the man I had trusted. How could I be here now, hiding, spying on the same man I once gave my everything to? I thought about so many things. What if it wasn't just him? What if there was someone else? A woman's face crossed my mind. I pushed it away. It couldn't be. The hours passed slowly. At 11:45, I heard the click of the front door. My muscles tensed. 2 sets of footsteps entered the house. I clamped my mouth shut. I stopped breathing. "Thanks for coming," Julian's voice said. And then, "Are you sure Renee isn't going to find out?" A female voice responded. In that moment, the world stopped. That voice was all too familiar. And when I recognized who it was, the floor fell out from under me. That voice was like a punch straight to the chest. It was Jenna, my best friend, the one who knew everything, my fears, my dreams, the most intimate corners of my life, even those of my marriage. And now she was in my house with my husband, while I was hiding like an intruder in my own life. My lips trembled, my heart hammered in my ears, but I couldn't move. I pressed myself deeper into the closet, holding my breath. "Are you sure Renee won't find out?" Jenna asked, her tone a mix of a whisper and the tension of someone hiding something huge. "I've got everything under control," Julian replied. His voice was calm, cold, as if he had rehearsed every word. A shiver ran down my spine. "This could cause a lot of problems, Julian. A lot. That's why she can't know anything. Not yet. Not yet." Those 2 words sliced through me like a thin, slow knife. I wanted to storm out, to confront them, to scream. But something anchored me there. Something between fear and doubt. Were they talking about me? I thought of all the stories I'd heard. Friends betrayed by their own husbands. Neighbors who discovered everything because of a strange perfume or a poorly deleted text message. Co-workers who swore they knew their partners until they found them with their best friend. And I always thought, that will never happen to me. I know Julian. I know Jenna. But there they were, in my living room, talking in hushed tones, signing papers, mentioning my name. I leaned in just enough to peek through the crack. I could see a folder on the coffee table, documents, charts with figures, bank stamps. "And these are the loan papers," Jenna said. "Yes, but we're missing Renee's signature." "Do you think she'll sign without knowing what it's for?" "I'll tell her when the time is right. She's not ready yet." "I'm not ready? For what?" "This is delicate, Julian. It's not just any gift. It's her name, her money, her life." "I know, that's why it has to go perfectly. And if she doesn't like it, what if she blames you for hiding this from her? It's better to ask for forgiveness than permission." That phrase took my breath away. He spoke as if I were an obstacle, as if my right to know was a luxury, not a necessity. "The business name is going to be hers. Are you going to use her name without telling her?" "Yes, because none of this would work without her." That sentence didn't sound romantic. It sounded like an excuse, a pretty disguise for a betrayal. And if she finds out ahead of time? She won't, trust me. She doesn't suspect a thing. Another phrase that broke something inside me, because it was true I hadn't suspected anything, and now I suspected everything. I felt my body go cold, but my forehead was slick with sweat. The buzz of my nerves filled my head. I wanted to go out there and ask, what is going on? But I was afraid of the answer, afraid of looking at both of them and not recognizing them anymore, afraid that my love story was actually the end of another. When the time comes, it will all make sense to her, Julian said. Jenna didn't reply, just nodded and looked down. And I knew I was alone, because I didn't know if they were preparing a surprise for me or burying me alive in a lie. And if I wasn't careful, I would find out the truth, but maybe too late, and maybe with no one left on my side. I stayed hidden in the back of the closet, my body cramped, my knees numb, my mouth dry. It wasn't just fear anymore. It was something else, something I couldn't name. I wanted to get out, to scream, to cry, but I didn't move. The voices continued outside, and I listened. Do you think she'll like the name? Jenna asked. It's her dream, Jenna. It always was, Julian replied. My breath caught. My heart, which had been pounding with distrust, was now pounding with confusion. She used to talk about it since college. She wanted a little bakery with the smell of fresh bread, coffee of the day, a wooden counter, plants in the window. I remember everything. My hands were shaking. It was as if someone had unearthed a memory I had let die. That afternoon came back to me in a flash. Me, sitting on a concrete bench with a green notebook on my lap. The sun was on my face. Julian had brought me a pastry from the cafeteria, and I was sketching a display case in the corner of the page, writing in blue ink, Renee's Bakery. Subtitle, Bread Made with Love. I even remember Jenna laughing from behind me. Are you trying to be a chef or a poet? And me, full of hope, saying, I want to have a place that smells like a new beginning. But then life happened. His layoff, the mortgage, my shifts at the market, and the dream got pushed to the bottom of the list. Now I was hearing my name again, not as a joke, not as an excuse, but as something someone had saved for me. She deserves it, Julian said, his voice cracking, even if she never understands what it cost me to get here. Jenna was silent for a moment, then said, You should have told her from the beginning. Julian sighed. I wanted to give her something complete. For once, to do something big for her without her having to carry the weight with me. My eyes were already wet, but I held back. Part of me was still hurt. He had made me doubt. He had made me feel foolish, ridiculous, alone. And if she finds out before you're ready, then maybe I won't have a chance to explain. That's what pushed me to come out. I opened the closet door with trembling hands. I walked down the hall and descended the stairs without making a sound. I saw them on the sofa. There were papers spread out, colourful graphs, menu sketches, half-finished logos, and in the middle of it all, my name, Renee's Bakery, a place with soul. Jenna was the first to see me. Her eyes went wide as saucers. Julian turned immediately. Total silence. Renee, he murmured, standing up. I heard everything, I said, my voice breaking. From the beginning. Jenna also stood, looking uncomfortable. It's not what it looks like. Yes, it is exactly what it looks like, I interrupted, looking straight into his eyes. You still remember my dream? He stood frozen, his eyes shining, speechless. I'm sorry for hiding it from you. I just wanted it to be perfect. I approached slowly, as if stepping on new ground. You did all this by yourself? No, Jenna helped me. She's a consultant. I couldn't have done it without her. I nodded. So why didn't you tell me? Why did you make me think the worst? He looked down. I was afraid you'd see me as a failure, that I wouldn't be good enough. Then he fell silent. He hid. I looked at him, trying to reconcile the man I loved with the one standing before me now. You're not a coward, Julian, but you were dishonest. He nodded. He didn't make excuses, and that hurt more than any excuse could have. I sat down and picked up the paper with the logo. You really remember that afternoon? The green notebook, the blue pen, the guava Danish. I remember your face, saying you wanted a place that smelled like a new beginning. And then I cried. Thank you for remembering, I sobbed, even when I had forgotten. Jenna quietly slipped away, leaving us alone. Two people who still loved each other, but no longer knew how to move forward. And deep down, a new question emerged. After all this, did I still believe in us? The house fell silent. Jenna left without saying much. She just grabbed her bag, avoided my gaze, and closed the door gently behind her. Neither Julian nor I moved. Neither of us knew where to begin. The table was still covered in papers. The logo for the bakery. The name I had once scribbled in a college notebook was now there, printed in cursive, with a little drawing of a croissant next to it. It was beautiful. It was exactly as I had imagined it. But it was also proof of everything he had hidden from me. Julian got tied up and went to the kitchen. He returned with 2 steaming mugs. Chamomile, he said, placing one in front of me, as if tea could calm the hurricane inside me. I looked at the mug but didn't touch it. I didn't need tea, I needed answers. Why did you hide this from me, Julian? Because I wanted to surprise you. And making me feel paranoid, stupid, was that part of the surprise too? He didn't answer right away. He sat across from me, his shoulders slumped. No, I never wanted to hurt you. I just thought that if I gave it to you all finished, without you having to carry any of the burden, it would be better. And who said I didn't want to carry the burden? You already carry so much. I stayed quiet. For the first time, he acknowledged it, but that still didn't justify it. Do you know what the heaviest thing is? I asked. It's not the job, it's not the house, it's the silence, the doubt, feeling like I'm fighting alone for something that was supposed to be ours. He nodded, his eyes wet. I failed you. That broke me inside, not because he said it, but because for the first time in a long time, I saw sincere regret. You didn't fail by losing your job or by being at home. You failed when you stopped sharing your life with me. He took a deep breath. I thought if I built something concrete, something for you, you'd look at me the way you used to. I closed my eyes for a moment and remembered the day we moved in here. The mattress on the floor, the coffee made in an old pot, the little notes stuck to the fridge with our goals. Save up for Renee's bakery. But the notes disappeared. The bills came, then the silences, then the distance. You built something beautiful, Julian, but you built it on a lie. He lowered his head. I didn't want it to be a lie. But it was. I stood up, went to the table and picked up the documents. This is a part of me, a part I had buried, but now it needs all of me to live. He looked at me, confused. What are you saying? I'm saying that if this bakery is going to exist, it will be with me in it, from the beginning. I want to see the budgets, the contracts, the renovation plans, the suppliers, everything. He nodded slowly. Of course. And if you're going to open Renee's bakery with me, you'll have to work with the real Renee, not the idealized version you invented. He tried to smile but couldn't. And us? What's left of us in all this? I took a moment to answer. I sat down again. I looked him straight in the eye, no holding back. I don't know. I slowly took off my ring, like someone dismantling something sacred. But this is going to wait. I placed it on the table, between the project papers, between the past and the future. I don't hate you, Julian, but I don't know if I can trust you again, either. Not yet. He closed his eyes and nodded in silence. I stood up and walked to the door. Before leaving, I stopped. Sometimes what you need isn't to leave, but to take some distance so you can come back different. It wasn't until the door closed behind me that the weight lifted from my shoulders. For the first time in a long time, I chose to think about myself. 2 days. That's all I needed to breathe, to clear my head, and to decide what to do. But sometimes, life doesn't wait for you to be ready. It just throws more fuel on the fire. And in this case, that fuel had a name. Ophelia Rogers, my neighbour from 2B. I was taking the trash out on a sticky afternoon when she saw me. Ophelia smiled, the kind of smile that never reaches the eyes. Renee, so good to see you, sweetie. Hi, Ophelia, good afternoon. She didn't reply, just moved closer. Oh, I don't want to be a gossip, but you do know what your husband was doing at home all that time, right? I stopped. I looked at her calmly. Excuse me? Well, a few days ago I saw a friend of yours go in with him. They were alone. I didn't see you leave, and I thought, well, she put on a face of feigned innocence, paused dramatically, and then let it drop. I mean, it's not my business, but you know what they say, where there's smoke, there's fire. I gave a small smile, not because it was funny, but because suddenly it all made sense. This woman, this phrase, it was her. She was the one who planted the seed of doubt in my mind. If she hadn't said that in the hallway, if she hadn't casually mentioned my husband having secret visitors, I never would have hidden my phone, followed Julian, or ended up locked in a closet. I never would have overheard the surprise and never would have discovered everything in the worst possible way, when it could have been revealed in the best, and that hurt. Thanks for the tip, Ophelia, but I already know what he was doing. She raised her eyebrows. Oh, you do? Well, what a relief then. I went back to my apartment, my head spinning. As soon as I closed the door, my phone buzzed. A text message. Everything okay? Heard a weird rumor about Julian. Another one. Girl, just asking, is it true he cheated on you with a friend? And another. You deserve better. Don't stay there. If you want to talk, I'm here. 3 messages from 3 different people, all with the same origin, a half-told, distorted, and weaponized piece of gossip. Ophelia hadn't just planted a seed of doubt. She had cultivated chaos with a fertilizer of malice and watered it with poison. I sat on the sofa, staring into space. I took a deep breath. The surprise Julian had planned for months, the gift he wanted to give me with my name on it, was ruined by a hallway comment. It wasn't him who ruined it. It wasn't Jenna. It was me. It was all of us. Me for listening too much, them for speaking too little, and others for speaking without knowing. I clenched my phone, opened a notes app, and started to write. We live in a world where gossip travels faster than the truth, where everyone prefers to believe the worst because it makes for better stories, more likes, more drama. I was taught to be suspicious, to protect myself, to read the signs. But no one ever taught me to trust in the silence, in the quiet care, in the love that's built from the inside. If Ophelia hadn't said anything, I would have discovered the surprise the right way. Or maybe I never would have known. He would have told me one day. I'll never know. I closed the app and looked around. The living room was the same, but I wasn't. I got up, went to the shelf, and pulled out my old college notebook, the green one with the faded cover. I opened it to the last page. It was still there. The hand-drawn logo, Renee's Bakery. I picked up a pen. I rewrote the name with a firm hand. Then I dialed Jenna's number. Hey, can we talk tomorrow? I want to propose a partnership, because now that bakery is going to be built by me, with truth and with my name. 2 months later, the sun still streamed through the same window with the same intensity, but I didn't live there anymore. I moved into a small, functional apartment above the bakery, one that always smelled of vanilla and coffee. Every morning, I came down the side staircase with the key in my hand and peace in my heart. Renee's Bakery. The sign had been installed just over 2 weeks before. It was still new and shiny, the gold letters curved delicately over the glass storefront. On opening day, I was shaking. The line on the sidewalk wrapped around the corner. Jenna coordinated orders, laughing, wiping her hands on her apron. My brother worked the register. My friends helped out behind the scenes. And I was behind the counter, serving, smiling, living. Julian was by my side, in his own apron, a few days' worth of stubble on his chin, smiling with the customers. We didn't need to give explanations anymore. When everything came out, he showed me the contracts, the budgets, the details, and he apologized, not with pleas, but with responsibility. "I just wanted to see your name on a storefront," he had said, and there it was. But with truth, I forgave him, not because it was easy, but because it made sense. Real love isn't about always getting it right. It's about staying committed even after the mistakes. When we opened the door that day, they were already waiting, all three of them, Ophelia Rogers, Carmen, and Daisy. They walked in with their heels, makeup, and calculated smiles, phones in hand, eyes on the prowl. "Renee, your bakery is just lovely." "Thank you, Ophelia. I'm so glad you came." "And you and Julian, are you still together?" "Yes," I said, "more than ever." At that moment, Julian appeared with a tray. He served coffee to all three of them with a genuine, non-ironic friendliness, and I handed them their pastries with a calm smile. They sat at a table by the window, took pictures, and of course they whispered. But this time, I smiled for real. I hoped they would now spread the story of my new bakery, because there's no better publicity than word of mouth. Life didn't give me a traditional revenge. There was no epic betrayal, no scandal, no bitter end. What I got was a new beginning. Truth, warm bread, a name on a storefront, and that was more than enough. My story didn't have a spectacular, dramatic payback, but it had what mattered, because the best revenge is being happy with the person who truly loves you, with the one who makes mistakes but decides to stay, who stumbles but chooses to be by your side. If you have someone like that, someone who has lied while trying to give you a surprise, leave a comment with the words, "Good lie." Those are the two words that sum up my story. If you made it this far, write that so I know you were here until the end. And remember, sometimes love is also in the silence, sometimes hidden behind a good bakery. Thank you for watching, and if you want more stories about life's unexpected twists, don't forget to subscribe to Velvet Vendetta.